I think that's what it is.
I think it's a lamb.
Oh my god. Oh my god. We have lamps. We have lamps. This is crazy.
Hello. So I brought my little sister around Australia on her 9-day vacation. She came all the way from America to see this new place I was living, and I was excited to see both what I was familiar with and what was also new to me alongside her.
Where's that? This isn't fair.
Why?
We just got here.
What?
Just got here. What do you do to get caught?
They'll give you a disease. Yeah. That's a pigeon.
I showed her around Sydney for a few days, which is where I started my working holiday visa, so I brought her to the first cafe I ever went to.
Yeah. Are you gonna do this whole trip?
Yeah.
Very cool. I know, right? Look at this. No, he said he wanted to be a beta. This is so cool.
The Sydney Opera House, and every neighborhood we had time for, which was a lot. And she put her faith in me to show her around and had no idea what was going on most of the time. And this was really fun for me to come back to these places like 5 months later, and it made me really sentimental and brought me back to when I started my journey and how far I've come since then.
It's the Sydney Opera House. Nemo. Yeah. Look at it.
But my favorite part of our trip together was road tripping South Australia and Victoria. We started in Adelaide, which is a city that has its own lovable charms and beautiful homes, but we only got to explore it for one day because the next day we had our first full drive, which was the longest drive we would have to do to get started on the Great Ocean Road. You may have heard of the Great Ocean Road, you may have not, but there's a lot of arguments online over if it's really worth it, and all those typical Australian travel debates where people have really strong opinions. But it's an easy drive and it's really beautiful, so I think of course it's worth it.
Yep. I actually have no idea. Or one of those little white dogs.
The first day we drove from Adelaide to Woolsthorpe, which is a 6-hour drive, and it wasn't really a highlight to film because we didn't stop anywhere fun. The main event was the Airbnb that we stopped at for the night.
He's staring us down.
I put all of my energy into planning Airbnbs for this trip because I really wanted to stay at local farms. I love staying on farms and I hate staying at generic places overnight because if I'm going to be spending money to stay somewhere anyway, I want it to contribute to the trip in some way. And I feel like the accommodation is a huge contribution to what can make a trip. We stayed at this couple's property and we didn't see the animals until the next day. So we hung out with our dogs for a little bit in the morning and I fell in love with border collies. I'm not a dog person at all. And then we said hello to the sheep as we were on our way out to the next stop.
Oh, they're so cute.
Day 2 was the first day of the road trip that had some big sightseeing. So because we did the Great Ocean Road from Adelaide to Melbourne rather than the other way around, we got to see the 12 Apostles right away. There's actually only 6 or 7 now because they've fallen over time. Before you get there, there's a walking path where you can see a cliff view of Loch Ard Gorge, and you have a few paths to choose from, so we went with the vibes of the right-hand path. I think Sam and I are the same where we don't need to spend so much time seeing something and exploring like every inch. We just can show up and get the vibe and move on. Then we drove a bit further to see the famous 12 Apostles view. We were raised to enjoy the simple things in nature, so it was great to be reconnected to that and experience this with a family member after a year away from home. I really feel like this whole year of traveling, my happiest moments and most exciting adventurous moments were just driving in a car and seeing whatever scenic nature was there. That night we stayed in Apollo Bay, which was a really gorgeous beach town. Sam couldn't get over how good Australian coffee was. She bragged to people at home about how she didn't even have to put sugar in it, so I think that says a lot. I think stopping at small towns is also my favorite part of road trips, even with all the amazing views and sightseeing. For some reason, seeing a small town sticks with me. The Airbnb we stayed at in Apollo Bay was absolutely the highlight of the entire trip. Of course, when you're booking Airbnbs, you just are going off of photos and reviews, so you don't actually know what you're driving up to most of the time. And as soon as we pulled into this house that sits on a farm for cows, donkeys, and goats, we fell in love. We didn't even want to leave the property. And I saw a side of Sam that I've never seen before. She would not leave the cows' sides. I don't think I really connected with them like she did. But every time I couldn't find her, I looked out the window and I saw her standing there staring at them. So she had some sort of connection to these cows. And I had a connection to the donkey. I read that donkeys have a lot of empathy, so they befriend humans. So I know that that wasn't all in my head.
Where's the other one? No. This is insane.
The owners of the farm said that their family used to run a dairy farm, but they can't keep up with other farms in the area that have like over 200 cows. So now the cows that they do have, there's just a few left. And I also think it's crazy that if you put it into perspective, we drove like, I don't know, 8 or 9 hours just to get to this one Airbnb, and that was like the most special thing. And if we didn't plan out this great ocean road trip, we never would have found it. So I think that's the really fun part of planning road trips.
Like I'm gonna be here all night. I seriously am.
That night we watched Practical Magic, and then in the morning we spent as much time with the animals as we could before saying goodbye, and I really wish we had more time here. When researching the Great Ocean Road, I saw a lot about the town Lorne. We stopped there and ate lunch and explored the beach. It was another great beach town with cool people, and I also considered moving there for a moment, which is always a sign that I like a place. We were really exhausted by this point, so we crashed at a cabin in Torquay, I really don't know how to say it, and drove to Melbourne the next morning to catch our flight back to Sydney, where we spent a few days before Sam left me for the United States. We spent those last days in museums and eating food. We said our goodbyes, and I think it's kind of funny how when she did show up, we were just like, hey, because we talk every day and it felt like I just saw her. And I'm super excited to see where I'll be living the next time family comes to visit.